The Pope Francis has passed away, unfortunately. The FDA has announced that they're going to be getting rid of synthetic food dyes. And more Texas news here on Konrad's weekly news segment. Yes, you heard that right. Pope Francis has passed away at the ripe old age of 88. He was the first South American pope, and he was head of the Catholic Church from 2013 to 2025. The search for the new pope begins. The FDA has announced that they will be requesting, keyword there, put that in bold, requesting the removal of petroleum-based synthetic dyes, which entail red 40, yellow 5, 6, blue 1 and 2, and green dye 2. This request was made for all food supply companies to comply by the end of 2026. We'll talk more about request as opposed to enforced. Moving on to Texas news. Construction has started on a new $1.6 billion renovation/reconstruction of the Austin Convention Center, one of the largest convention centers in the world. The center will be under construction for the next 2 years and will be doubling in size for 300,000 square feet to 600,000 square feet. This construction and resizing will not expand sideways, but go upwards vertically. This will also be the world's first completely carbon neutral convention center. World's first, so that's kind of cool, right here in downtown Austin. Next, the top cities that are seeing a drop in their home prices. Out of the top 10, four of those cities are here in Texas, according to Redfin.com. On the list at number 2 is San Antonio. Number 5 is Austin, Texas. Number 7 is Dallas. And number 10 is Fort Worth. That means if anybody's looking to jump in and get back into the real estate market, some of these markets here in Texas, you should be able to pick up a house for a little bit cheaper price. And then lastly, another crash involving an 18-wheeler happened today. A 6-car pileup shut down southbound I-35 in the town or in Georgetown area. No fatalities or injuries have been reported. It's still under investigation as to what caused it. But the I-35 southbound freeway was basically closed for some people have been reporting that they were stuck in traffic, completely stopped for 7 hours while the cleanup and removal of the semi and vehicles and investigation as to what happened took place. This is the third major accident on I-35 involving an 18-wheeler in the past 50 days. So, gentlemen, that's world, national, and Texas news. Let's get into it.
I have one news to add to that. Oscar Piastri has won 3 races. And I'm going to put a clip that I said that he might be the lead guy in McLaren.
Okay.
Back before the F1 started.
I believe you made that prediction before, too. So we'll roll that history clip here in just a second.
Yeah. Carlos Sainz is doing really well, and Piastri, I think, is going to take over the highest score on McLaren.
Over Orlando. I also believe when the speaker they announced they were gonna student loans. They're been paused for a while, right? People have been making payments on it, so I think they're starting to really crack down on that and starting to enforce it again.
Yes.
There's like 40% of no one's been paying on them, and it's like billions or maybe trillions of dollars. So now I think they just mentioned they're going to start something with that. I don't know when that starts, but
Yes, that I also read the same thing where they wanted to restart the repayments of student loans.
Yeah. I don't know why it stopped, because you see, we have very high student loans. We pay a lot for student loans because of Tamidis' school, and we never even thought about stopping it. I don't think it's honest and it's fair to, of course, it's a executive MBA. You know, the return is guaranteed, but it's still, it's not my fault that somebody's paying $100,000 a year to study geography. And look, I'm a teacher, so I respect every single profession. But $100,000 to study geography, who's gonna get paid? I mean, how many teachers or professors are making six digits to pay that? With the cost of living increasing. I don't know.
The university owners are making money.
Yes,
That's
for sure.
and that's the tragedy. The cost of college is out of control. I mean, it's just I don't get it. I can remember when if you were a resident in California, you went to any California college for free. USC, UCLA, Berkeley, Stanford. I mean, if you qualified as far as academic wise, but there was no tuition for a person that lived in California. College education should not require a loan, period.
You see, I noticed that non-residents pay way more than residents. So you guys are talking about residents, like I know because I deal with that absolutely, literally every single day. I look at the numbers every single day. It's part of my job, and residents pay 3, 4, 5 times less than non-residents. So that also should be addressed. If this is if it's not based on states, there should be a kind of standard because, guys, mobility is what America is about. You move from state to state, so it shouldn't be so much more expensive than it is right
Absolutely.
now.
And I really feel like, that's a whole other topic. I won't get into it. But yeah, I thought what was interesting about requesting, that was the key word, is that the FDA under Kennedy is requesting that all of these food manufacturers stop using the synthetic dyes. Now, requesting is different than mandating.
Right.
Because when you mandate, you have to give a stricter or a more time for them to come up with the resources to find the substitutions. So I
was going to ask that because one thing is like, if you mandate, it's like the Queen of England at the time said that at first there was like diesel cars, and then it's like no diesel cars anymore, or whatever it was, and then she gave like up to 2028. Oh, she passed already, but because she would be like 100 years old or something like that. But it gave like a long time for the diesel cars.
Phase out.
Yes.
Right.
And there is always that kind of thing. It's like, hey, how? Request is not something that you have to.
So can they just say no?
So
that's my question. It's like,
there it is.
Can you just say no?
Yeah.
And that's a fantastic question. So apparently, leading up to this press conference,
Let me just note that I have a fantastic question.
You do have a fantastic question. And I might have a fantastic answer. So apparently leading up to the conversation or the announcement of this, God damn it, Kennedy, RFK had already been speaking to the food industry and a lot of these food companies. And I guess the food companies have said, listen, I know you're going to come out with new laws, mandating that these go away. Can you just request it that it starts phasing out by the end of 2026? So they literally have, about a year to make sure that there's no more of these synthetic dyes that are in the food. So it does not mean that they get rid of all of them, but it's a request that they get rid of all of them. So a lot of like Skittles, they might get rid of red 40, but they'll still keep yellow 5 for a little bit longer until they're able to fully stop producing their food with all of that. So that's why it was a request made and not official mandate.
It's a political decision.
It was
That's a bunch of
Absolutely.
bullshit.
It's absolutely, Dylan.
I hate
You
that.
could stop it right now. There's no reason for it.
I completely agree with both of you guys because, and I'm sure the majority of that of everyone thinks the same way. It's a petroleum-based synthetic dye that is literally plastic that is banned in every single other country in the world. So you can go across the border in Canada or down to Mexico and pick up a bag of Skittles, and it's dyed from beet juice.
Yeah.
For getting the red.
Yeah,
It's
which is
dyed
good
from,
for you.
Yes, from carrot juice to get the orange. But here in the United States, it's petroleum
Pasta.
based.
If you eat the same brand pasta that you buy in Italy, and then you eat, you don't feel bloated, you don't inflate, and you eat and just like a dish, with pasta over here. The pasta
You'll
over
lose
here.
weight.
Yeah, over there, yes. Over here, and then you inflate, you feel bloated, and then next day you wake up and your face is all like swollen,
There it is. That's right.
So yes, I'm not sure how production's gonna be because the ingredients, these companies, they buy ingredients like for the whole year, right? They have contracts signed, and then, but that's money driven. That's not healthy driven and thinking about the the people that are eating it and putting that into their bodies.
And you know what? And I feel like it is one of those situations where now it's starting to be okay. We're gonna start cracking down and we're gonna be healthy about this. And it's if this is a tough decision, if it's tough for Skittles to move away from artificial dyes to no, get the hell out of here. Just take the same goddamn recipe that you're sending to the UK.
That's right.
And start doing it here in the United States.
Well, with all the money that Doge has recovered, we could buy out those contracts if they're under contract to
yes,
get
I
those
agree.
dyes. Buy
And
them out, done, gone.
And not only that, is these Skittles being produced, in the same factory that, the ones that goes to UK, it has a different recipe than the ones that comes to America.
I'm sure.
Is a different recipe. And then because the prices are pretty much the same, right?
Right.
When you convert it. And then what does that mean? It means that is it the American recipe subsidizing the price of the one in UK? I doubt it, because business doesn't make sense that way.
Right.
So they could do the same recipe for the whole world.
Absolutely.
Or they just make more over here in the American market on those ingredients. And I'm sure we consume way more Skittles than the rest of the world as well.
Yeah.
Fuck your Skittles. No one needs Skittles.
Marshawn
Why are we
Lynch
talking
does.
about Skittles?
Marshawn Lynch needs his Skittles.
Yeah. Hey, man.
He's the last person I would take Skittles from.
Yeah, we got. Is that the Eagles flag in there?
No, it's the Seahawks. Oh,
Seahawks.
come on.
Oh,
You know better than us.
All right.
You got a Cowboys fan in the house?
It's the Seahawks. So I like, when it comes,
I don't see him. Where is he?
when it comes down to football, I know everything.
I'll tell you, there is something to that. DK Metcalf even has said he eats a lot of candy.
Does he?
Yeah.
But he
That's
looks
like
like
all
it.
he eats. He just eats candy.
He's a colorful character. He's a menace on the field. He always costs us a personal foul right when we're ready to score. It's like, no, get back 15 yards. No, yeah. He looks like he's eating candy.
Needs to be on a 70% protein diet.
There you go. Not 71.
Watch the podcast so you know the reference. Yeah, and go back into the channel, and the episode was released on Friday, the 25th.
Cool.
Okay. I found very interesting about the local news about the real estate. Do you want to comment a little bit on that?
See, it's common. I worked in the business from 2020 to 2023. Right, I was in the mortgage business.
Okay.
So the prices were inflated during that period. So I don't see that as a lower. I've never bought the idea that the houses were going up 50, 60%. Of course, if you bought and sold, just like stocks, definitely, then you say, oh, it was, my house, I think it was assessed at $700,000. Now it's like $500,000. But we bought for $300,000 in 2020, so I don't see that. It's just part of the market. You see this stock. If you remember, like every single person I know, almost every single one of them, refinance their houses, right? So
you helped me actually doing that, and then our house, there was supposed to be like 450, and then it hit like 755, and then the bank, without sending anybody, to look anything in the house, and said, oh, your house is 646 worth. So we refi at the time that you helped us, and then so we lowered our from 30 years to 15 years. We lowered the interest rates. We got rid of all of the PMIs and whatever it was because of that, and now the house is 400 something. Mm-hmm. Which is what is
supposed to be.
What it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But it didn't help us though.
Yeah,
So I'm not mad about it.
If you were
at
able
that
to
time.
sell at the time, it was up to 700. You would have made real gains on that. But the catch-22 is anything else you were going to go buy in this area was also inflated. So you would have to be leaving.
And there's one thing.
You have to live in rent for 2 years.
Which was higher
Rent
than
was high.
He
Much
went
higher.
up higher than the price of the houses. So
Yeah.
it's it's a situation where what are we gonna do? Like, of course, I mean, it's so hard to timing the market. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy this one, and then that's the time to rent. And there's so many things you have to do, and you have to work. Then you have to take care of your kids. Then you have to study. Like, it gets to a point that, man, if you live in many different places, you know how expensive it can be. Like, you move from a house, you move to another house, then you move again. So, at the end, I think our house is appreciated, but not at the rate that people were talking about. So it's.
But houses were bought at the time.
Yes.
Evaluation of the house were like 500. And then people would have to pay, like, come to the closing with 200,000 extra, because the bank would not give them 700, right? And then they're like, okay, the valuation is still 500. You have to come down with the 100,000 for the 20% down, plus whatever that you put at an offer. So you have to put down like $300,000 for a $500,000 house that you paid $700 for it. And now you have to wait, 10, 12 years for that money to be equalized, to hit break even.
And then I know people who bought lots of properties and they're with a lot of forbearances.
Yep.
Like they couldn't even pay their houses because that there's this guy I know. I was helping him. He bought 17 houses. He was renting all the houses. All of a sudden, 7 or 8 went in forbearance. Like, he bought with the expectation that he would use the rent to pay the houses, to to pay whatever, and they weren't able to do that. They have to start selling the houses. But who's going to buy it now?
That exact same thing happened to Dave Ramsey way back in the day, and that's why he no longer he doesn't borrow money from banks, because he did the same thing.
Is this the infinite banking or whatever it is? Oh no, it's the guy that says do not use credit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but he, bought too many, didn't think it was too many, and then one loan company starts calling. Next thing you know, foreclosures, getting rid of them, and then bankruptcy, and it just happens that way.
It does.
You expand too quickly.
It does. Cool.
But yeah. That's the news.
Yeah, good.
That's the news this week. You want to speak about sports? I know we've got quite a few Formula One.
I already said about that. Piastri is 3 wins in 5 races?
Yes.
And he's leading the championship now. I'm not saying that it's going to continue because Verstappen won quite a bit at the beginning. Have 23 races, 24 races this year, something like that. So it's still a long championship to go on Formula One. But yeah, It's going to be an interesting year. It has been fun, apart from Japan, but it has been fun to see the races. Verstappen is just, I don't like the guy, but I have to say, he's an awesome driver.
He's the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like him, but he's too good. He drives better than the car.
He only lost this race because he was penalized. He's penalized in 5 seconds at the beginning of the. If he weren't penalized, he would win, because the difference was only 3 seconds.
Yep.
He would have won it. He would have won it.
I think Piastri would have still overtaken him, because they just played because we have 5 seconds and we don't have to attack. But
I also think towards the end there, knowing the cushion, he was probably Piastri had a little bit of tire management going. So if he had to push it to try and win, maybe they would have. I don't know. Also, this early in the season, maybe not. They're like, we'll take P2, we'll take the points. Later on in the season, I think is when it gets interesting. People are desperate to score points, and they're going to start pushing it. So it'll be good.
How's Hamilton doing? Isn't he with Ferrari
he's
now?
struggling.
He's hanging in there, but
he's struggling a little bit with the chassis and everything that's going on with the car. But they had a good phase during the race that both of the Ferraris was like going really well. And I think the Ferrari has a better chassis for a harder tire. And the other cars, like, I'm so happy that Williams is up there, competing.
Yes, finally.
And it's been so good because to see another car kind of going in for points and competitive into that midfield, like a traditional team. But I think the Ferrari, it's. I don't really know the answer to that question, but he's unhappy with a little bit, the style of the car, the chassis, and it's still in development. So
yeah, he's just come out. He's been outspoken about his frustrations, but really with himself, he just says he feels slow. All he knows, he doesn't know what's going on exactly. He just knows he's incredibly slow. But he did win the sprint race in China, so there's potential there for him.
And there's another thing. Probably Ferrari is going to be more competitive next year.
Yeah, with
everybody's talking about that, with the regulation and everything. So I think he's still gonna be. I think he's gonna be 50. He's gonna be still. I think I told you that he wants to. To run to his 50 like Fangio and all this.
Yeah, I don't know.
He can't do that. I mean,
what's the regulation? I don't follow it that closely. I don't know what.
Lots of things, like a total rehaul of the car. The next year, it's getting
size.
The size is changing, shorter. I think a little more narrow. They're changing stuff with the aero, the transmission, and engine power unit. It's all changing.
Oh, okay.
So it's gonna re-level out everything.
It's gonna add more electric power as well.
Mm-hmm.
How about in the curves? You told me something about.
Well, because the smaller the car, less body work you have to work the air. So it's gonna have less impact of the air, like downforce. To be able to turn at high speed. So it's going to be more high speed because lighter. The car should be a little lighter. So it's going to be more high speed straights, but more braking. So braking is going to have to improve, revamp. That's why they're going to be using more electric powers, which is the turbo, the same as using the turbo era. To build up the revamp the speed, like to get up to speed again.
Right.
So there are more braking, less corner speeds, but scientists, right? That's what the Formula One, guys are. They are scientists. They are driven by data and analysis and observation. So it doesn't matter what F1 tries to do in regulations. The freaking scientists, they resolve the problems. So,
but we want to see more breaks. We want to see more mistakes. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Like all these guys, they don't make mistakes anymore. I mean, where's the fun? This year, we can see more of this. I want to see more mistakes. I want to see more breaks.
That's an interesting take on it, and it's so true. You want to see something happen and be like,
Yeah, usually F1 is just so boring. The guy that starts out in P1 is the winner. He's
Yeah.
gone. It's like, come on, you guys, do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started watching in 2023 live races, and that was what I kept getting from it. It's like the midfield's fun to watch,
Yes.
but Verstappen was so dominant that year. Then last year there was a subtle hint of hope at the end of the year, like maybe he won't win it. And then of course he did. So I think this year is the most competition I've ever seen since
Okay.
I've been watching.
Well, I'm gonna have to check it out then. Yeah, because
Yeah. I like Hamilton. Like you mentioned, I would love to see him, being on the podium and whatnot. And it was great to see him winning the sprint race.
In China, yeah.
But I'm happy, about Piastri getting up there. Very, very cold guy. I want to say cool, but cold, precision, determination. That's really good. And it's interesting to see how Verstappen can overdrive the car that he's got, and seeing Alex Albon, performance with the Williams, which is not really. But I always said that James, the principal at the Williams now, he is data-driven guy. He's a scientist, and the way he's planned, this development of the car, and it's been beautiful to see, that development. So it's interesting. I think if you look at the whole field, when the guy starting first and then he's running first all the time, TV is not showing that. It's showing like the fights, the second and third, and fifth and sixth, and you know what I mean. So it becomes a very interesting race, nevertheless. So it's been awesome.
Well, and that being said, this past weekend in Saudi at the Jeddah, it was the first race where P1 didn't win, but the guy that won started P2. So it's not like someone's winning from 10th.
Verstappen won the last three, and one of them he started fourth, and then he won. No, was not. Am I wrong? Okay.
He started pole. No, because they talked about it on the broadcast. This is the first win of the season that didn't start from pole.
Oh, okay. Of this season, yeah,
This
but
season,
not Jeddah. Because I was talking like the last four of Jeddah's race.
Oh no,
One it
sure
was
that's
one.
happened.
Hamilton won, and then Verstappen, and then one of them Verstappen started in fourth. But then all of the other ones, the guy that started in first won. It's a very high speed, and it's the shortest in time race. It's 50 laps, and it's a very fast lap. It covers the same amount of miles, but in the end, it is. If there was no red flags or yellow flags, safety cars and whatnot, the race would be done in 1 hour 15 minutes.
And that's this weekend in China.
The last weekend in Jeddah.
That just happened.
In
yeah.
Jeddah.
Yeah.
So this weekend they're off. Where do they go next? Bahrain.
I don't know Bahrain. I think they did Bahrain. I don't.
they
No, it's
Miami.
Miami.
Miami. That's
Miami
right.
Yeah.
It's Miami.
Wow.
okay.
Yeah, it's Miami.
That's right.
Not this weekend, but the next.
Yep. That's right.
It's gonna be nice. Street circuit again.
Yeah, I like street circuits.
I love the Miami circuit.
Yeah,
That one's
and that is Leclerc, circuit. It should be awesome.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
cool. Thank you very much for watching. Tune in next week for more national, world, and of course local Texas news.
Bye.
Bye.